So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our second webinar of this HR specialized webinar series. We are so honored, actually, to have with us here Dr. Shakir Ola from the United States. Well, it's not very early there. It's 7-ish a.m. in the morning. So thank you so much, Dr. Shakir, for joining us, and we're so glad to have you today with us to deliver this nice topic about the human capital demands in the financial technologies industry. About Shakir, Dr. Shakir is working as a faculty of finance and FinTech at the University of Louisiana, Monroe in the United States. He's also an adjunct associate professor of finance at the University of Maryland Global Campus. He's a member of the AAO-IFI Working Committee on Sustainable Financing under this governance and the ethics board. Earlier, Dr. Shakir worked as a dissertation chair at the Georgetown University in the United States and Washington. Dr. Shakir has worked as an advisor with the State Bank of Pakistan earlier as well. He worked as an assistant professor of finance at the Institute of Management Sciences in Pakistan. Dr. Shakir holds a PhD in banking and finance from the University of Southampton, where we were colleagues in the University of Southampton. We were doing our PhD together and under the same supervisor. So, and holds an MBA in finance and strategic management from KDI School of Public Policy and Management, South Korea. He has published over 20 articles in top-ranking journals, including the Journal of Business Ethics and Financial Times, which is a Financial Times top 20 journal. Before I pass it to Dr. Shakir, just a few housekeeping instructions. Please make sure that you remain muted during the whole session. If you have any questions, please drop your questions in the chat box, and I will go over the questions after the time allocated for Dr. Shakir for delivering his content. I'll be sharing with you the slides as well. I promise this time to share the full recording of this session. With this introduction in mind, Dr. Shakir, the floor is yours.
I'm very glad to be here with you. Ali, thank you very much for that nice introduction. I appreciate that, but you went a bit over it. Anyway, that's my background. And Ali and I, we were doctoral students at the University of Southampton together. And the other thing that we have in common is we had the same supervisors. And apart from that, one of our supervisors, Dr. Dima Jamali, is from Lebanon. So we share a number of common things, and it's very good to be connected. We were connected, but we didn't have any joint activity. So this is the first joint activity we're having together, and we're looking forward to a lot more in the future. All right, so that's our beautiful campus. If you ever want to come and visit us, and Ali, I would like to have you here one day for a joint activity. So in addition to working as a faculty of finance in a number of different places, I also wanted to mention, and I think that's related to the discussion here, because this session, my primary objective is not to teach you about FinTech, but to see what we can do together and what kind of collaboration can we have. So I'm also the chairman of two startups. One is the American Institute of Islamic Business over here, and I'm also the chairman of Deliverable Ride and Delivery Services, which I started in 2013 in Pakistan from like a mere $5,000 investment, and now that company is in millions of dollars. I have partners, of course. I started this company with my students, and I'm seeking the same kind of, probably we can come up with some synergy over here so that we can work together and do something good in the future. I have given my contact information, so if you ever want to get in touch, there you go. All right, now, what is FinTech? When we hear the term FinTech, most of the people that would come, like if you ask somebody, most of the people would not know what fintech is. Those who know, they will say it's blockchain, right? Well, of course, blockchain is just one minor component of the fintech ecosystem, and that's correct. But there is a lot more. And basically, the fintech, when fintech is the term that combines finance and technology. So the modern technology that we use for streamlining and conducting and the delivery of any kind of financial services is what we call fintech. So those financial services could be banking, those could be funding activities, those could be issuing of shares, those could be insurance, and anything that you name it, anything related to finance would be and which is driven by the technology, modern technology would be under the fintech category. Now, we're going to talk about that in a little more detail, but e-commerce, this is something that we all are familiar with. So as you can find a relationship between commerce and like the internet. So like commerce was there for a long time, but then internet came and it gave it a different direction. So we had that e-commerce industry. Same goes with fintech. Finance was there. It was there for centuries, and it has always been there. It has been improving, but it has always been there. But when the modern technology came in and it revolutionized the finance industry, then we call that the fintech, a combination, a synergy between finance and technology. The key drivers of fintech, if you want to say, are the big technology giants. Like what we mean by the big technology giants, like the trillions of dollars company like Amazon and Apple and Alibaba and Microsoft. All of these companies are the big drivers of fintech. But the things are changing now. Like we also in the big giants we also consider the financial institutions, but the technology part is driven by the other giants. Now the interesting thing, and which is going to be of more interest to we people, is the small startups. There is a mushroom growth of new companies in the fintech industries, and as Ali mentioned um, in his introduction, is that a lot of these big businesses, big banks are worried about losing a lot of their business to these smaller fintech startups. And why not us? Why cannot we not jump in to start something and get our share? And this is the time. I mean, like, we have to jump in, do something, and get that market share. So there's a lot of mushroom growth in fintech startups, and that is the key driver. And we're going to focus on that part rather than the big giants. All right. Now, if we talk about the fintech revolution, like a little bit of history, I have to be brief on this because we don't have much time. But it all started in 1950s when we had the first credit card. That was the first milestone. Then we had in the 1960s we had the first ATM introduced. So the automatic teller machines. And then we had this NASDAQ, which is which introduced the electronic trading platform. So if you may recall, we had that open outcry system before electronic system, and if you had to buy or sell shares, you had to go to the stock exchange itself, and you had to raise your hand and shout for buying or selling your sales. Now that has gone to be completely online. But it all started in 1970s when we had the first computers, and then we had the telebanking introduced. And the big thing that happened over here is PayPal. This is what we call the small fintech companies. It came in late in early 2000s. So the thing is that they made those complicated transactions between banks. If you had to send money across different institutions or to different people, it was a very difficult thing. You had to go to the bank, write checks, sign a number of documents, but PayPal made it quite easier to do that process. And from that point onward, all that journey started. Ali, can you see the full screen? Because I see these
Yes, all is good, Shakir. All is good. Yes.
the complete screen, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay. So I cannot see part of that, but I'll talk about it. Then, we had, if you, most of you here are students and maybe bachelor students, so probably you don't have a good memory of the 2008-9 financial crisis, but there was a crisis started in the US, and that, sent a shock wave to the whole financial system in all over the world. And it scrambled everything. And there were like a number of people who consider, well, what is wrong with the finance industry? Why did it happen? And one of the reasons they found out was especially with the money itself. So then someone called Satoshi Nakamoto introduced the Bitcoin in 2009, right? And I was witnessing Bitcoin when it was like, a couple of $100. Now it is right now I think it's about $68,000 right now. So, and it's going up and up. So that was another. But Bitcoin and blockchain is just one part of that. Now at the end, the most interesting thing is that we have now we have, when you think about a bank, like, you think about a big building and, very fancy furniture and office, etc., etc. All that is going to be without any office these days. So now we have banks coming up that don't have any office, being run completely online. And if that is possible, we can also do that, even if not like a big bang, but we can start from a small thing and can make it bigger. And remember, we as when we are students and we have an idea, what we think, okay, well, I've got a good idea, but I don't have the money to start the business. Remember, money is always there. You need to have a good idea, and you have to have that commitment to work on your idea. Money will come and all by itself if you have that commitment, enthusiasm, and I'm going to talk about that later on. Ali, I have to be a little quicker because you have a time constraint. Now, talking about the FinTech ecosystem. This is FinTech ecosystem. Now, you may remember from your earlier biology class, like ecosystem is a combination of everything that makes life sustainable. Like that includes water, air, food, and the temperature, everything. When that is right for life, you have the ecosystem for life. When we talk about the FinTech ecosystem, you have to have all of those components present so that you can have a viable and sustainable FinTech industry. And for that, we need these different components. For example, one of the thing is the software in the digital banking. So there are a number of players, and these are growing at a mushroom growth rate. So as I talk, you can see adding new firms into these different categories. Then we have, like, the alternative finance industry. Other than the big banks and big financial institutions, there is a mushroom growth of those smaller companies. And just to tell you, a lot of these fintech firms are using the blockchain technology. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So we can probably arrange another session, particularly on the blockchain and what we can do in that area later on. The digital identity is another field. Like, rather than having a passport, you will have a digital number, that will identify you not only in your country but everywhere you go. You have a digital identity, and you just scan yourself and everybody knows who you are. So that thing is also coming up, and most of that is using the blockchain technology. Again, talked about blockchain. We're going to talk about that in more detail. A number of cryptocurrencies and cryptocurrency exchanges are growing up and stuff like that. Insurance, the smaller finance technology based insurance companies. So rather than all of those big firms having those big buildings, we have these smaller companies, and they are very, very, very smart in determining, using their technology, using their smart artificial intelligence system to determine what insurance premium would be good or appropriate for certain people, and they do that for individuals. So that they are much better and smarter than the big companies. The big companies' old systems, even though the big companies are jumping into them. And then the reg tech. This is the regulatory part of technology, and what we mean by that is the financial technology company sector is growing so fast that the current regulations are not enough. So there's a lot of debate going on. Like you see China banning cryptocurrencies. Why are they doing that? Because probably they don't have that reg tech infrastructure to control all what's happening over there. Similarly, we had these different discussions going on in the U.S. That are talking about regulating the finance technology industry. But that is another integral part. And you can, if you don't want to have your own fintech company, you can have something in the regulatory technology sector as well. And then you have the robo-advisors. Like you don't have to, if you're trading stocks or bonds, you don't have to be there and watching the market and doing the analysis. You have all of these automatic robotic advisors. They not only identify the good trades for you, but if you allow them, they can also do the trading for you. So you will be sleeping at night. There's a good opportunity to place a trade. The system will be doing that for you, and it has been proved that they make comparatively more money than a very experienced individual investor doing the analysis on his own. So there are a number of things that we need to consider. So all of that consider is the combined is the fintech ecosystem, and this is just a little part of that. It is growing. A number of other elements are being added to this. Now, here's the thing. If you look at the transaction volume in millions of US dollars, this green this bar is not green. It's okay. This is basically the digital payments. And if you are considering entering into the fintech, you may most likely be falling in the digital payments. Like you can develop a small applications where you can facilitate payments between different people, right? So that would be a small thing that you can do. And it's very easy, not a big deal, okay? But you have to be enthusiastic enough. You have to be willing to market your idea. You have to have your application and then go ahead and, promote it and find the clientele. And then you can look for investments and other things. So a big chunk, and you can see like everywhere, like in all of these years, the digital payments is a big chunk of the fintech industry. Now this one over here, this is the corporate finance or business finance area. Using fintech, so that is still very small. That big, those big financing deals like issuing of bonds and stocks for big companies, they are still using the old traditional mechanisms. But they have no way to survive if they don't come up and have their own intelligent system. So there is like over here, if you can develop something for these big industries, like this whole space is available for you if you want to do something in this area. Even though this is a big chunk, because this is easier to do, this is going to be a little harder to do, but you have a big opportunity over here. I'm not saying that we will be developing something, a complete solution for the corporate finance industry, but we can do a little bit chunk of that so that we can contribute, and that's going to be a big deal. All right. Now, this slide borrowed from Maxi is an interesting one. This shows the fintech and blockchain industry, and some of these numbers are like just the estimates. The interesting thing that I want to talk about is this yellow bar, which represents the market in the Middle East and Africa, the MEA region, right? And as you can see, this is still comparatively, this is still much smaller than the other three bars. Like most of the market is captured by the North America, which includes the USA and Canada primarily. And this bar, which represents the Asia Pacific, including Japan and Malaysia and China primarily, they are leading the role. Over here, the yellow one. Now, I'm not saying over here that the market is not good in the Middle East. I say what I see here is this opportunity. We still have that gap to be filled, or you see. So we are the ones who can jump in and do something over here. We still have a gap available. We have a market there, but we need to jump in and do something about that. Now, again, another slide on comparison between Africa and in the Middle East. Here you can see in 2010, like, you know, this one, that darker color, that represents the Middle East, and the other one is Africa. You can see, like, you know, in 2010, Middle East was much higher. Like, it was still like the whole industry was still much smaller, but compared to
We're doing
Africa,
excellent, Shakir. Yeah, we're doing excellent job. We're doing excellent compared to Africa.
yeah, that's right. But you know, here what surprised me is over here in 2015, Africa is surpassing the Middle East. Now that is an interesting thing. Now, why that is happening? What I can predict, and well, as per my understanding, is because the Middle Eastern market was still quite developed as compared to Africa, and there was, like, you know, very limited financial inclusion in Africa. With the emergence of FinTech, the African market got access to those smaller mobile payment systems, right? So that led to the growth of fintech startups in Africa. Now there are more fintech startups, and now from that point onward, you can see, like, Africa is still taking the lead. That doesn't mean that we don't have the opportunity, but we have to do a little more. We have to think about a bit more advanced ideas. And it's not just only about the number of startups, it is about the quality of the startup. And you may remember that about 80% of the new startups do fail. Okay, so you have to be ready to accept that risk as well. But that doesn't mean you don't have to do something. You have to do something. Like, if your one out of 10 ideas click, you're gonna be playing in millions and in billions. You see. All right. Now, this is a little older data, but just wanted to show you the 100 most promising Arab startups, just a few of them. And what is interesting over here, like, you know, most of the promising startups are in the UAE, and you can see a lot of them in Jordan, you know, and other countries. If we come to Lebanon over here, we don't see a lot of them. It's not discouraging. It is basically something that we should be encouraged about, because we have what I see. This is from this perspective. We have this space available, you know, and we can fill that space. We have more opportunity in Lebanon to have more startups and more collaborations. It doesn't mean that you have to start everything from scratch. You have to collaborate with each other. You have to collaborate across countries, and that's what we're talking about today. You know, how can we collaborate? How can we combine that human capital? As per my discussions with Ali, and as I know, there is a lot of capable and competent human capital available in countries like Lebanon, and also like my native country, Pakistan, and others. The thing is that we have to utilize that human capital to do something big, right? And what we need to seek that synergy. So I know there is competent human capital available, and we need to utilize that. So my expertise is in the finance area in fintech, and what I can do is to do something combining, bringing that human capital from Lebanon and other countries where it is available, and starting something that could be in finance and fintech industries. All right.
And in fact, if I would like to interrupt here, the issue in Lebanon is not only about human capital; it's about the regulation and infrastructure readiness. So the gap you see maybe in the previous slide is due to the latency of regulator to prepare the market to be there.
Okay,
So,
that's a good point. Good point, Ali. Thank you for sharing that. And
that's an intervention from Dr. Hassan Haidar. Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan. So yeah.
Well, jump in if you have to share.
Let's keep the discussion probably till the end, if you may allow me, just till the end, so we can finish the content, and we'll have at least 20 minutes for discussion. So Dr. Hassan, we're looking forward to hear your intervention at the end as well.
All right. So, but that is a very good point, Ali. I appreciate that, Dr. Hassan, that you shared it. Now, the thing is that if you have regulatory controls and more of those issues over there in Lebanon, what we can do is it's not necessary. It's like we are living in a digital world, and so we can have that company registered somewhere else, like in the U.S., but we can work on it together. You know. So we can avoid those regulatory problems. We can move to areas where we have more business conduciveness. So thank you for sharing that. All right. Now, because most of us that are students over here, and I would like to share if you are thinking about jumping into the fintech area, you may already have those skills and aptitude, but if not, I just want to identify the skills that are needed in the different fintech sectors. One of the key, very, very important, is the blockchain. A lot of that development is taking place on the blockchain technology. Now, we're not going into the details what that blockchain is. We can arrange another session on that. But just to make it simple, all those cryptocurrencies are basically using the blockchain technology. So blockchain is a technology, and the cryptocurrencies are just like the different products. Blockchain can be used for a variety of different applications, for supply chain, for digital identity, for tracking your everything. So think about that. You can develop your expertise in blockchain, and it's very, very easy. Remember, if you have the commitment, it's very easy to learn that blockchain technology, especially the Ethereum blockchain, where you can develop your smart contracts. Cybersecurity. This is another very growing and and promising area. This is much more needed. Remember, as we move more towards the digital world, we don't need those those physical security guards and big walls. Rather than that, instead of that, we need the cybersecurity companies. And now, an interesting thing that is coming up is with the development in the technology, and so as the technology moves forward, the cyber criminals also get smarter, and we need to be smarter than that to come up with the security system. So you have a good opportunity over here. Now you may be saying, why is this related to fintech? Well, we are doing in fintech, we are doing transaction through the technology, and cyber criminals are there to interrupt our transactions, to gain access to our systems, steal our data, credit card details, and everything. So we have to protect that. This is a growing technology. Artificial intelligence and machine learning. Okay, so all that robo advising and those smart contracts, and you also hear about the Internet of Things. So this is coming up very soon. It's already there, where all of these devices are going to be talking to each other. We won't need a human interaction. A car would be talking to a gas station. Okay, you don't have a driver in the car. It is running out of fuel. It goes to a gas station. It talks to the gas station all by itself. They sign a contract, all the digital. So that needs the artificial intelligence and machine learning, and also that is the same thing for robo advising in finance, and artificial intelligence is used in fintech, insurance, and all of those other areas. So I'm not going into the details, but just identifying the areas that might be the skills that you may need. Data science, another promising area. The data analytics, where we have like trillions of gigabytes of data produced every day, and we need to analyze that. So we need the data science skills for those. Computer languages, especially relevant to fintech, but there are a number of other languages. These are just a few options that you can think about. Python, JavaScript, and Solidity. Solidity is primarily used for the for the blockchain technology. The others are more generalistic. But if you gain competence in one of these languages, then it's very, very easy to learn the others, because there's a little bit change in syntax, but the basic things are the same. So one of these languages, if you can develop expertise. And remember, you have to have your domain knowledge. Like you may know a computer language very, very well. You can do all the coding, but if you don't know what to do with it, it is of no use. So you have to have knowledge of a specific area, like you are in finance, for example, or you are in HR, and you're also a good programmer. Then you know where the problem in finance or HR is, and how you can use your computer skills to find a solution for that. So domain knowledge is very, very important, and you have to develop expertise. Specialization is the key. You cannot be an expert of blockchain and cybersecurity and artificial intelligence and all of these languages at the same time. You have to develop expertise and bring a team of specialists together. Like one person, it's not possible. So you have to bring to make a team of those specialists. So we already talked about the fintech. Ali, how much time do I have?
10 minutes.
Okay, let me wind this up very quickly. So data science, we already talked about that, but very quickly, 2.5 quintillion bytes of data is created every day. Now, if we have to analyze that by human beings, it is impossible to do that. So we need the data science and artificial intelligence to do that job easier. The relevant part of that big data is related to finance is in these areas. There are millions and billions of purchases every day, millions of bookings, subscriptions, payments, transfer, trades. So that data is generated second by second, and we need, if we have to make sense of what that data means, we need to analyze that, and for that we need the data analytics techniques and expertise. The good thing about data analytics is that this is transferable across industries over here. If you if you are a data scientist, it doesn't mean you have to be restricted to finance industry. You can be a data scientist in HR, analyzing the HR data, or marketing, or any other field, but if you have those expertise, you can utilize them in different sectors. So that is a very key skill. Like blockchain, when we come to blockchain, like for example, so blockchain is primarily into those transactions in supply chain and that stuff and digital identity, but this is used primarily everywhere. Now, if you have to be an expert in big data, you need computer skills, like a little bit of programming. You also need to have that domain knowledge. Ali, how can I minimize? This is the first time I'm using the GoToMeeting, so how do I minimize this?
I mean, there's this control panel. It's just
okay. I will drag
Zoom,
this down. Okay, I think that's better.
Yeah.
All right. That's a quick solution. All right, so you have the computer skills. We talked about different languages, right? Coding. If you also have some mathematics skills, particularly statistics, okay, and then your domain knowledge. Domain knowledge, like you are in the finance area, but you also can do some coding, and you also know statistics, a little bit of that. If that is the combination of skills that you already have, or if you can develop, you can combine them and utilize that to be a data scientist. Data scientist, like hundreds of thousands of jobs available these days. But there is no human resource available to do those jobs. So very big potential over there. Now, looking at the salary range over here, if you are a data scientist, this is like a quick search for salary estimates. You can be earning $340,000 a year, like for a medium level data science job. Right, for an entry-level job, this would be the range of salary that you can earn. So you can see the potential over there. Like, why would one pay $340,000 a year for just one person to be a data scientist in that company? So you can see the demand over there. Artificial intelligence, let's not talk much about that, but it's primarily, if you want to develop your skills, you need to have information system skills, your computer skills, like the language and that stuff, and a combination of data science. So you will have the machine, you can easily become a machine learning engineer, or AI engineer, artificial intelligence engineer. And there are, the salary estimates for these kinds of jobs would be this is the range of artificial intelligence engineers, so 200,000 a year. But these are for the the medium level jobs, not the highest paying jobs. All right, cybersecurity, we already talked about that, but just I have this other slide over here. So in the olden days, we have these kinds of criminals, right? Jumping into the door, having a gun in their hand and robbing the bank, right? And then for those to control them, we had to have these kind of guys in the big walls to protect the banks and the financial institution. But now the landscape is changing. We have these kinds of cyber criminals. We don't know where they are and what time do they operate. They may be operating every time, all 24 hours a day, and we have to protect ourselves from them. So we need these kinds of locks now, these kinds of locks and these kinds of guards. So there is a big demand for cybersecurity professionals these days. There's a lot of need, and these are the different areas that you can think about, having expertise in. If you want to look at the salary expectations, like for the mid-level jobs in cybersecurity, you can expect $140,000 pay per year. So that's the demand in this area. Blockchain and cryptocurrencies, very promising. Now, there is a mushroom growth of the cryptocurrencies, which all of them use the blockchain technology. We have to be clever. A lot of us are entering into the cryptocurrency trading, but it is very, very risky. There are a lot of scams and frauds also going on. So you have to be clever when you play with the trading system in particular. But we're not talking about the trading part of the cryptocurrencies or the blockchain. We are particularly interested with the blockchain technology and how can we use that for our own startups in the future. Now, this is becoming more interesting. How many of you know that Facebook recently changed to Meta? This is their new logo, right? And that is, Facebook's office is on 1 acre way. So, acre. Just think about that. Now, this Meta, what does that mean is that you have a complete virtual environment. You can buy land virtually. You can have those NFTs, non-fungible tokens, where you can buy different assets in different parts of the world, and you can buy a very, very small portion of an asset and can be the real owner of that asset. So all of that is basically using these blockchain technologies, and you can jump in. Remember, I'm telling you, developing an application in the blockchain is very, very easy. It doesn't need a lot of expertise, but you have to be committed to do something in this area. Now, when Facebook announced that it is going to go to that virtual reality sector, the Meta, one of the cryptocurrencies that is basically used to buy and sell virtual properties is the Mana, right? And the price was over here, it was like $0.7, like 71 cents. And when Facebook made that announcement, the price went up to $5 over there. You can see how much potential is there in the cryptocurrencies, especially when we are going more and more virtual and we need these virtual currencies. So not just the currencies, the basic thing is the technology and the product or the company behind the cryptocurrency if you have to survive. Peer-to-peer lending, like we don't need these banks these days now. With the fintech industry, we are directly connected. The investors are directly connected with the venture capital. So we have to we can easily exclude these big banks, and we have that peer-to-peer lending. We don't have to know each other, but if we have the system, we can develop that peer-to-peer lending system, the crowdfunding system, and we can if we need money, we can collect that, or if we can develop the peer-to-peer lending platform for others to utilize. These are a few startups that are in this particular area. Crowdfunding, again, the same idea. These are some of the the fintech companies, fintech startups that use the crowdfunding mechanism. Like, so we don't have to have those banks to go to the bank and write all those complicated applications and all those checks and signatures and documentation. We can simply float our idea online and we can collect money from the crowd like this. You see, so all that is becoming possible because of fintech. I have to be a little quick. Ali already talked about that,
please.
like
2 minutes.
80% of.
If possible.
All right. So 80% of the technology, big technology companies, like, they're losing their revenues to the smaller fintech companies, and either they have to come up with their own fintech solutions or lose the share to the smaller companies. But these are, I mean, like, they are working together collaboratively. Now, a quick search on the jobs, because Ali told me that we have to tailor this with the HR, more towards HR. So a quick search right now, if you can see my slide, there are 28,513 fintech jobs open in the United States right now. And remember, these are the jobs only posted on LinkedIn. So all of the jobs are not posted on LinkedIn. This is just a small portion of that. Another interesting thing, if you would like to see, is these are mostly remote jobs. So this is remote. You can see this is remote. That one is hybrid, like sometimes in the office, and so most of these jobs are remote. And let me tell you, if you can develop your expertise, you don't have to be in the United States to have these jobs. If the company finds you a very, very competent person in that area, you have to be in Lebanon. They can give you the job and you will be receiving the salary. So just jump on it and do something in that area if you are interested. Similarly, like, if you look at the UAE, these are 201 fintech jobs right now open, and these are only the ones posted on LinkedIn, all fintech related. And Saudi Arabia, 82 jobs open right now, and you can look at that. Also, in Lebanon, when I did a quick search, there are 11 fintech related jobs open right now in Lebanon, and there's a lot. I mean, like, you may not be just applying for the job, you can be the job creator if you can have your own startup. That is my focus of the whole talk. Again, like, there are different types of jobs in the fintech. So now this product manager is basically not the coder or the programmer, but basically this the fintech strategist. And you can look at the salary range over here. And this is also a remote job, so you can do that from home. If you have the expertise, go ahead and apply. If the company finds you competent for that job, they will find a solution to give that job to you. Again, director of growth. This is also not a programming type job. This is, again, a strategic or consulting level job, and 150,000 a year. Again, this is a remote job, so you don't have to be there to do the job. Now, coming to the final conclusions.
Dr. Shakir, I hate to play this role. Don't hate me, but just to keep space and time for interventions and questions, can we wrap it up, or can we try to finish it like a minute? Is it possible?
Oh, yeah, I will do that. Okay. So we need to be prepared for the fintech industry revolution. For corporations, they need to train their employees, pay them well, and retain them. For universities, we need to develop courses in fintech. This is the need of the day. And here are a few fintech courses. These slides are going to be available to you. So you can, these are the links provided if you want to develop your expertise and skills in these different areas. Go ahead and jump on these courses. But we can develop like master level, like MBA in fintech, or others. You can be a fintech strategist or a programmer or an entrepreneur. You can your own business. I would focus on this rather than these others. But of course, you cannot be here if you don't have the expertise in the other two areas. Now, what I want to focus over here on is on the collaboration. The thing that I want to put forward is, if you have a good idea, all right, and you are enthusiastic enough to work on your idea, okay, and you think you can excel in one of the mentioned areas like the data science or blockchain or any of those, if you have a yes to these questions, then get in touch. We can think about starting something together. All right, and here's my contact detail if you want to get in touch. Thank you very much indeed. And the floor is open for questions and discussions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shakir. I know that the time is not enough even to cover one aspect of the topic. And I mean, you're offering now opportunities for students. And after what you said, I'm sure that tomorrow on my desk, I'll see change major from all the business majors to the MIS major in the faculty. You just destroyed departments in the faculty. So thank you for this, Shakir. So
we'll be seeking collaboration with each other.
Yeah, yes, of course. So with us, I mean, I have two planned interventions. I have, we're so happy to have our dean, Professor Bassam Hamder, doing an intervention from the economic aspects of this fintech thing. And then later on, we'll have an intervention from Mr. Sami Slim team from IDS company about their experience, because they are working in the field of software and web development, especially in fintech in Lebanon. And then we will open it for others to just throw their questions, and we'll have a discussion. So Dr. Bassam, you can go ahead. Professor Bassam, Dr. Bassam.
Yes, what about now?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Professor Shakir. Really, it was very educating, very rewarding and informative lecture. Well, actually, I echo the concerns of my colleague, Ali. He has not, destroyed the management department, only he has destroyed the dean. So I'm leaving, and you find me an entry job with $340,000 per year, which is a lot more than here. Anyway, so actually, I have a concern from an economic point of view. So this fintech industry, whatever advancement in technology, in digitalization or digitization, is welcome. But there is a new business model in this industry. It looks like a barbell, heavy on both sides and slender and very slim in the middle. So what I'm trying to say, this will destroy the concept of perfect competition in economics. And this will tilt towards creating economic friction, unless there is a regulatory body that would take care of this, coordinating, the competition in the market. Because you will know this market or this industry will be dominated by the heavy, firms, by large firms, where the small firms will be in the middle. So this is one concern, the small fringe of firms will be at disadvantage because, number one, research and development is afforded by the big companies. Number two, economies of scale, economies of scope are only afforded by the big companies. I think I lost him.
No. Just the picture, just yeah.
Okay. And the infrastructure, the advanced infrastructure that is needed, it will be only afforded by the big firms. So in conclusion, from an economic point of view, this change is very welcome, and this change will lead to the development of the business, the financial business, or all the businesses revolve around the idea of fintech. But we have to be very careful about the new model, the new structure of the market, in order to be competitive and to be fair to all players in the industry. This is one. Second, if you allow me, if I have 1 minute, Ali, if I still have 1 minute.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, about the human capital, and about how to attract, Actually, to attract human capital working in such an industry, first of all, you have to provide extension, provide the training, provide the skill building, and so on and so forth, and provide education. And again, most of these variables are well played by the large firms. So the concern is again, so if we would like to attract very well skilled, very skilled and very developed human capital in this field, we don't have to emphasize only the extrinsic variables or factors. We have to work on the intrinsic variables, because nowadays, okay, for financial reward might be a big part of the picture, but other intrinsic variables might be very important to attract, okay, well-skilled human capital, like for instance, a good business environment, like for instance, creating confidence, trust, like for instance, creating appreciation and so on and so forth. So these factors are very important. Actually, I would like to emphasize it. I usually emphasize not only the extrinsic variables, but also the intrinsic variables. So the human capital, which was the main heading of this presentation, did not get a fair share. So hopefully Dr. Ali will coordinate with you in the future to have, okay, another presentation, another webinar devoted mainly to the human capital in the FinTech or FinTech industry. Thank you very much. I learned a lot today. Dr. Shakir would like to have you, okay, physically in person one day in Beirut among us, okay, giving a convention or conference or whatever. Thank you very much. And the Maaref University always welcomes people of your caliber. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hamder. Maybe Shakir, if you can take notes, and we can probably leave the discussion because we have an intervention from a real case from Lebanon. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we will hear from you your comments on what Dr. Bassam has just put forward, and then on what Mr. Sami. Mr. Sami is the CEO at IDS. Working in the field of FinTech in Lebanon, and of course with lots of projects outside Lebanon. I'm sure that they are having, I mean, he calls me and he tells me the problems that they're having in recruitment and retention of people in the field for such projects and such work. So Mr. Sami, the floor is yours.
Yes, hello, good evening everyone. Well, all the challenges that were mentioned by Dr. Shakir and also by Dr. Hamder some moments ago are real. Of course, we in the company, in the private sector, in the domain of the FinTech, mainly in, let's say, in poor countries, a country like Lebanon now, because it became a poor country, we face a lot of challenges, because exactly what was something seducing for people to go and work in America is something at the same time that enlarged the gap between countries like Lebanon and the rich world, let's say, or the developed world. This is a big problem, by the way. It will not easily allow companies and private sector and FinTech to develop in countries similar to Lebanon or in the third world. Of course, we can talk about possibilities, occasions of opportunities for small companies, smart startups, etc. But in reality, it's something very difficult. Why? In reality, it was mentioned through the presentation of Dr. Shakir. Why? Because you need a lot of technologies, you need a lot of skills, you need people that are easily seduced by other companies. He just mentioned, Dr. Shakir, that there are hundreds of thousands of jobs open remotely for people inside maybe the United States alone by itself. So it's not easy to bring people. So each time you have a smart idea and you want to develop it, you need to search for a lot of money in order to develop it. If not, you will not be able to develop it, because you will not be able to develop it by yourself. Why? Because the technology is very developed, very difficult. By the way, in our company, for example, we need a lot of knowledge in a lot of technologies in order to continue the competition, to answer to the requirement of the clients. The market of the FinTech is a very fast market. It's a very fast market that requires a lot of changes, very fast changes. The clients do not accept to wait like 2 weeks or 1 month or 2 months to get their update and changes. They want something very fast. You need to serve a lot of clients in almost real time, especially when they are serving other customers, when they are serving people who are making trading, for example, preventing trading is part of the activities. There is somebody needs to mute the microphone, maybe.
Hello.
Posing some problem.
I think Nadine maybe from your
hello everyone.
Your team, from HR team. Nadine is the head of the HR department with Sami. So
let me continue, Nadine. Okay.
Yes.
So the challenges are so big to make a startup. The challenges are so big in order to continue even a good company. Why? Because you need a lot of skills. Add to this all the compliances, all the new regulations, all the fast requirements required by the clients everywhere. I work in the domain of investment banking, for example, investment banking, fund management, etc. You cannot imagine the quantity of skills I need just for 5 or 10 clients. Why? Because each client is like 10 clients. Each day they need new skills. Why? Because there are new regulations, there are new compliance needs, there are new requests from their clients. They always want to serve their customers. So I think it's very difficult to invest in this domain. Add to this, for example, the technologies need. In one company, for example, you need maybe 10 technologies in order to serve just one type of solution. You need to have things in the web, things in the mobile, things in the desktop application, in the engine, the security. Add to this the big complication when you want to implement at a bank. You have just mentioned the cybersecurity challenges everywhere. In reality, it starts to become a blocking factor in developing organizations. For example, now we are installing a big solution at a bank. Maybe 90% of the time spent is on the cybersecurity, how to face this challenge. Each time we have a request, it passes through a chain of 10 people. VPN, expired username, account blocked. There is no right, there is an update automatic at the middle of each month. So sometimes when you complicate organization and you complicate the structure and procedures, things become more complicated and sometimes you don't get the result. This is why maybe things need to change somehow regarding all the technologies that you have mentioned. And now I think why the FinTech is developing. The FinTech is developing not because...
you can wrap the discussion in less than a minute, please, if possible.
Yes. The word FinTech is something very wide. It covers a lot of things in terms of businesses. So it can cover at the same time the paying card machine at the ATM, and it can cover very difficult mathematical equations to solve performance issues for a portfolio. And it can cover payment in a simple accounting system. This is why this is a huge word. They are calling it FinTech, but in reality it's a multitude of words. Yes, I wanted to focus on the difficulties in working in this domain, mainly in not developed countries and in small and middle-sized companies. Yes,
thank you so much, Mr. Sami. I think I'm trying to pull back the discussion to the HR field. So maybe Nadine from your HR team can just highlight the main challenges, Nadine, that you're facing in the HR department working with IDS and the FinTech domain.
I'm just trying to turn on my camera. Hello, everyone. I'm Nadine Taha. I'm the HR manager at IDS FinTech. I work with Mr. Sami Slim. I just wanted to agree with Dr. Ali and Dr. Shakir about Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, that the candidates are really interested to join the FinTech field, because I could compare about the number of candidates I receive for the FinTech positions and other positions. However, we're struggling with a few challenges in Lebanon. First of all, that the resources are very scarce. We're struggling to find people that have experience in both finance and technology. Like we would find candidates that have very rich experience in technology, however, doesn't have the background in finance and vice versa. So this is the first challenge. The second challenge is the currency problem. due to the economic situation, we're facing problems with the salaries. This is leading to low retention because people are leaving the country to join foreign fintech companies. And the third problem is that there has been a trend about freelance type of contract, and this is really not suitable for the finance company because as Mr. Sami said, there's a really rich knowledge to gain before starting to develop a product. So the new joiner or the new candidate have to go through 6 months of training before really start creating solutions. So this doesn't work with freelancers because freelancers work for short-term contract. This is the 3 types of challenges we're facing. I don't know if Mr. Sami wants to add something.
Excellent, Nadine. I think you just summarized the problem in recruitment and in retention, because the flexible work arrangement and the employee value proposition for such and the total reward system is so important for freelance. I'm sure that on a freelance job they will make much more money than what you're offering them on a full-time base. So you have to find a new value proposition to present in order to attract. Plus the technical problems, and I think what Shakir mentioned at the end of the presentation is that universities and the programs at the universities, they need to help here in preparing and teaching and supporting and supplying the market with the needed, at least in some kind of interdisciplinary programs, as we were discussing, Dr. Shakir, between different faculties or different departments within the same faculty. So Dr. Shakir, I'll give it to you. I know that we have lots of questions from students. We will not be able, unfortunately, to answer those questions because we need to stick to the time so that we at least retain the number of attendees during the session, talking about retention. I promise that we will answer them. We'll send them the answers. This is a promise. But what do you think, Dr. Shakir, about what Dr. Hamdard said, about what Mr. Sami said, about Nadine's intervention as well?
All right. So yeah, I'm enjoying the discussion. Thank you very much indeed. Dr. Bassam and Sami and Nadine, very good points, and I think we are probably on the same line. So, responding to Dr. Bassam, yeah, I know I didn't do justice with the HR or any of the given topics. This was basically just to give a broader idea of what could be possible. Can somebody mute the mic? I can hear a noise back.
Let me see. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, it's better now. And so, yeah, but we can, of course, I would be more than happy to collaborate further, and we can arrange separate lectures on these individual topics. So we can have a session on, particularly on the HR issues, and that's what being raised by Sami and Nadine as well. Conferences, we can do that. Of course, I mean, we have arranged a conference in Georgia, Eastern Europe. It's in Tbilisi, Georgia, in December, and I'm the chairman of the conference, so I can send the link to Ali. If you want to join there, we can meet there, and then probably plan something later on in Lebanon together as a conference. And you mentioned of physical presence, so I would be more than happy to be in Lebanon with Ali and you, and especially in the country where my doctoral supervisor comes from. So I have respect for that, and would be great to be there. Sami, you talked about retention and finding those employees, and I think Nadine also mentioned those issues. I definitely agree, and I did mention that, like, for the corporate, for the corporate world, the key problem is finding those employees. So you have to train them. Like, those FinTech skills are not really readily available right now, so you have to train them, and then you have to retain them. Retaining means you have to pay them well in order to keep them, and as Nadine mentioned, you have to train them for 6 months or 1 year, and after they get their necessary training, they leave the company. Why do they leave? Because they get better paid, like those freelance opportunities. And I'm sorry to mention, but I also pointed out another venue that you can apply for these US jobs online, and you can do so. Probably I'm contributing
I
to
just
that.
hope that none of their employees is watching now. So they're already having a problem in retention.
Yeah, and I also focused on doing something together. I mean, like using that same human resource. I think we are competing for that human resource. Ali, you can, from an HR academician perspective, here's a big opportunity for you. You can develop new courses for this particular technology. So I'm open to that. Dr. Bassam, if you want to do something together with your finance department and HR in combination with all, we can develop a course and we can find a joint delivery mechanism so that we can deliver it together. So yeah, we need that human capital to be developed and retained with good pay and good working environment. Especially, you have to give the worker that flexibility. If you ask them to be there in the office all the time, they're not going to do that, especially those well-trained professionals. And Nadine, a very good point that you mentioned. Definitely agree with you that you have some people, some applicants who are very good in the technology, but they don't know about finance. I definitely agree with that, and that's why when I was listing those skills, the last thing and what I focused on was the domain knowledge. So you can be good in developing and writing a program, but if you don't know what to write about, like if you don't know about finance, then you cannot do anything. So that is another challenge. So that domain knowledge plus the IT skills. You can be in HR plus the IT skills, so you can write a program, software for your HR and for finance and all those other areas. So I definitely agree with all of these challenges, but we have to cope with them. FinTech, the technology, cybersecurity issues. We have the quantum computers coming up. That will make the cybersecurity a very, very big issue again. These days, these cyber criminals, they have a hard time to break our passwords, but when they have the quantum computers, it would be just like within seconds that they can break the existing security infrastructure. So we need to be that forward-looking and look at developing something that can be compatible with the quantum computing system. So we can talk about those in other sessions, but yeah, I definitely agree with all the points. Thank you very much indeed.
Great interventions. I mean, some of the questions that came from students, I think the employee value proposition, we touched on the issue of the pay, the issue of the flexible work arrangement, and the issue of the reward system, and that we need to think about a different value proposition probably for such industries and such companies. Here's an important question about the culture, because you know that HR plays a key role in shaping and creating and driving some of the dimensions of the culture that supports, because such companies, they have a very specific they need a specific type of culture, the culture around teamwork, a culture around collaboration, a culture around innovation and creativity. And I think that HR is responsible for preparing such a culture, so to nurture and to sustain and to develop such a culture that supports this direction of the company and the mission and the objectives of such companies. Another point concerning the competencies for human resource management. An HR student now listening to you, Shakir, and is thinking about joining a FinTech company. Probably some of the competencies and some of the, skills, some of the courses, some of the minors, some of the double majors that you would recommend for such students.
I think for the HR students, I would definitely recommend developing a skill in one of the given areas of the technology that I mentioned. It could be blockchain, just thinking about blockchain and HR. How can we use that? like blockchain is basically keeping a very accurate record of what happened in the past. So from an HR perspective, you can develop a system where you can track the applicant. Like we get a resume, we have like, you know, those lots of experiences in degrees mentioned, but I have seen situations where a lot of that is fake. So the experience that they write or the degrees that they mention are not actually real degrees. So you can use blockchain to develop a system where you have all that accurate record. Like when the applicant says, I did my graduation from Maaref University, that is readily verified, already verified through the blockchain. So you don't have to go and re-verify or maybe seeking the references or maybe asking for the original documents. It's already verified. So from an HR's perspective, like if you have the expertise in blockchain, go ahead and develop that system. Like the digital identity we talked about, like this is digital identity is related to human resource, and digital is like, you know, that blockchain part of it. So yes, you can also like develop expertise in data science, like a lot of the data coming regarding human resource and all of those different aspects. But if you are also expert in data science, you can have a better perspective of what's happening in your HR field. So yeah, I would recommend that you develop expertise. And what I mean by expertise is that you are really, really good in one particular technology areas. You cannot survive in any field in the future if you don't have that technology edge.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, probably some of the programming languages as well, Dr. Shakir, for, you mentioned some of the languages. I think that we're sadly bringing this to a closure. We're enjoying so much the discussion. I think that from the topic we have discovered so many further topics, and trust that this will be just the beginning of a future collaboration, Dr. Shakir, between us. So we'll be following on this. I'd like to thank you, first of all, for your generosity and for going with us live from the States. Thank you so much, Professor Shakir, for your time. Thank you for your contribution. It was a wonderful session. Thank you for the crowd. And I hope that you keep following our series just to announce the next two topics so that you're aware and probably you're preparing yourself for the next topic. So our next topic will be about the employee journey and employee experience. And we're having Mr. Khalid Tayara, who's the group HR director at the MSI Consultancy. We will talk about how to create, they call it a human-centered or an employee experience throughout the whole HR functions and the practices. And after that, a wonderful topic, actually, it's about how to create a positive psychology at the workplace and the role of human resources in creating such a positive workplace psychology. And we're hosting a team, actually, not one guest, a team from Malaysia, who will be talking to us about this topic. And the research that you're doing on this topic will have one PhD student as well participating during this session. So Dr. Shakir as well, I bet that you'll be a regular visitor. I'm not sure about the time difference between here and the States, but we'll try to push the timing for those webinars till afternoon Beirut time, so you are able to join us. Thank you so much. Again, thank you for the crowd, and hope to see you in the future webinar series. Take care and have a lovely afternoon for Beirut people, and have a lovely day, Shakir.
Thank you very much, Ali. It was a pleasure to be here, and have a good day. We'll collaborate in the future.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.